Hey guys, welcome to Walsham Weekly. So this week I'm doing a new series. I don't like to call it but that's what it is. I'm going through different tools and different things that I use that I've spent money on, a significant amount of money on, and I'm trying to decide whether they are investments or whether it's me being a consumer. So that's what I'm trying to do right now. And today I'm talking about my MacBook. This was a huge investment for me. I personally think it is an investment, and I would just like to go over what I'm comparing it to. So I'm comparing the value that I get out of the thing that I buy. In this case, it is the MacBook. In other cases, it might be Bluetooth headphones, or it might be that camera, or it might be this microphone, all kinds of things like that. It might be like a coffee machine. Is that a good investment? Blah, blah, blah. That is the basis of this series. Okay, so for myself, I'm comparing it to a 7% per year average interest, because that is the average return of the stock market, but I think it's very easy to get much higher than that if you do it correctly. That's what I'm comparing it to. Personally, myself, I think that is even lowballing it. So I will do a tiny bit of maths during this. I will be doing a few calculations just to see what that amount of money could be in 5-10 years, etc., just to sort of put things in perspective, because I think that is incredibly important to keep it in perspective. And also I'd like you to keep note of that this is personally what I think. I don't think this might not be practical for everyone. Not everyone thinks that it might be practical to buy a MacBook 2016. This thing is like over 2,000 New Zealand dollars. It's very expensive. It's not something you want to lose, but it's also very powerful. So yeah, not all my advice will work for everyone, and not all what I think will be even applicable for everyone. So personally, when it comes to the MacBook 2016, no touch bar, it was, I believe, $2,400. So that's nearly a quarter of $10,000. So if we just do a quick comparison, if we take $2,400 and times that by 1.07 for 1 year, that is, we've made $168. So the total amount of money we have is $2,500. But let's say that instead we have done 10 years. So I'll do it to the power of 10, and that is now $4,700. So it has doubled in 10 years. It's just about doubled in 10 years, just under. So that is the comparison when it comes to the amount of value that I would get out of that money, if we're thinking purely in money terms. But one huge thing to consider is, for the things that I personally do, I need a computer. I could try to do things on my phone, but it just wouldn't bring me the same quality, and it just wouldn't provide the same results. So really, I think a computer it's necessary in my opinion. But the thing is, do I need a computer with this much power? It's not exactly the most powerful computer, because it is just a MacBook. It's no gaming computer. It's nothing special like that, but I can easily edit podcasts here. I can easily export hour-long podcasts here. I can easily export 25-minute videos on here. I haven't tried anything over that. So yeah, that's easily something that I find quite good, and I can do that well. So the biggest reason I think this provides me value over something like buying a normal computer that is less optimized is, I think that's my main point. The main point is that I think the MacBook 2016 is so optimized for someone that does exactly what I do. I can edit videos. It has a huge battery life. My old computer, it was basically a desktop. I had an MSI GE something. It was basically a gaming computer. It was absolutely huge. It weighed like 5 kilos. It was probably 3 MacBooks stuck together, and then wider as well, etc. This thing, at first I thought it was small. I've got the 13-inch. I think it's 13.3 inches, I think. And it weighs something like 1 kg. It's ridiculously light. It's ridiculously powerful for the amount of... In my opinion, I think it's ridiculously powerful. But that is me coming from the MSI and knowing that was... It was like 3-4 years old. It was a really old computer. There's nothing wrong with it, though. It was a great computer, and it got me through tons of years of solid gaming, because that's what I wanted to do. So now I've moved to the majority of the things that I'm doing on my computer is being a creator. I'm making videos, I'm recording podcasts, I'm editing podcasts, I'm consuming content, I'm writing, all kinds of things like that. And another thing to consider is I'm also a university student. So as a university student, I will be traveling a lot of the time. I'll travel probably an hour every day, roughly, in the weekdays, and then sometimes in the weekend I live in a very, very nice place. I can ferry straight into the city where we have some amazing cafes, and that is one of my favorite pastimes. And I couldn't do that before efficiently. I would just go there with, say, a textbook or something, but I don't really... I can't study that well there because there's just so many distractions, but I can easily create things there, and I can easily be productive with my side project, which is Wonky Walshami, walshami.com, and this podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, this is also in podcast version on iTunes. Just search Walsham Weekly. Little plug there. So yeah, basically for the things that I want to do, the MacBook 2016 is so valuable. And another thing is I switched from Windows to Mac, and the amount of power that it's given me, really, and the amount of freedom that it's given me is really quite amazing. Just because I have all the apps I need. I have a subscription to, I think it is, what's it called? I have a monthly subscription to the Creative Cloud. It's like $10. You get all the Adobe apps for $10, so that's $120 per year. I think that is incredibly valuable. I might do another topic on that, but basically what I see this machine allowing me to do is this machine allows me to create. It allows me to do my work all the time, anywhere. It is one thing that the thing about it being so pricey, though, is I'm scared to take it places, and I'm scared because I sometimes I do a very long 2-hour commute down to Hamilton, and then another 1 hour down to Raglan to see my girlfriend, and that is obviously a long way, and there's always things I can do on that ride. So a lot of the time I do end up doing things on my computer, but if there is a situation where the seats are quite close together, and I don't want to end up breaking this thing because it is damn expensive. So, in my opinion, I think it's more than worth the money. I think because if it's doubled in 10 years, right? If that amount of money doubles in 10 years, then we have to realize that by that time I would have gone through probably 3, 4. I would have probably gone through at least 2 computers in that time. So there'd be this one, and then I'd be at the very end of this one or on to another one. So I'd be at least 2 computers away. So that means if I did stay this way, then that would be $7.5 grand spent on computers instead of another 2 point whatever made. But one thing to consider is no matter what I do, I need a computer, and this being a great option, I think this was probably the best option for me. Another option was the Razer Blade Stealth, which I think it was something like the Razer Blade and the Razer Blade Stealth. They're very small computers. They're not as small, they're not as optimized, probably because they're just a smaller company, and they don't have as much power as Apple, because I was reading something today that Apple has a bigger GDP than New Zealand, the same as Vietnam, and it's bigger than all these countries, just because the amount of liquid money and the huge the huge, just how big Apple is really, and just the amount of stuff that they sell. So yeah, that's why I think this is a reasonable purchase. But another thing to consider is you could go secondhand. Another thing to consider is you could go secondhand, and with that really shows that you can save a lot of money. But for myself, I would rather just go and pay the whole price up front instead of, say, discounted to something like 1.5 or 1.8, something like that. I guess around there you'd get for something like that. And one thing to consider is it probably wouldn't be the same kind of caliber of machine. Like, I would not be getting a MacBook 2016 13-inch. I think I upgraded the storage. I think the base price is $2,000, and I paid 2.4, and I may pay another $300 for AppleCare. This is another thing that I should go over. I also have, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that I have the Apple Magic Keyboard, the Apple Magic Trackpad, and when buying the laptop, you get a $100 voucher, and I spent that on this nice stand by Rain or something. And altogether, that is $90, $120, $219. So that is over $400 just on the accessories, just on those accessories. Plus, you've got to consider $15 for dongle. If I ever need to replace the charger, I think that's something. It might be like $120, but I don't think it's that expensive anymore. And yeah, so in general, there's a lot of expenses. So if we do include the $400 and we include AppleCare, that's another $300. I think it might even be up to $600. I think it's around $300. So that takes it all the way up to $3,000. And if that has doubled in 10 years, that's $6,000. So it does add up quickly. And another thing you have to consider is if we're doing the 10-year span, then that would be 2 computers. So really, that's $6,000 times 2. That's $12,000 spent on computers if I keep it the same rate of spending. But the thing is, I think this will probably last me a very, very long time. The only thing that would make me stop using this computer is I'd probably sell it, trade it in, see how much I can get for it, and then buy the next MacBook when in like 2018, 2020, 2019 probably 2019, something like that. I like to keep updated with my technology, and I'm willing to pay that price, but that might be different for you. You might not want to spend that amount of money on a computer. In my opinion, it got a lot of flack for some reason, which I can't really realize, because maybe it's just the extra amount that they put on it over the last few years, just because people can't really afford these kind of things. But I think it is well worth it. It's provided me with so much value. It's allowed me to start this whole podcast and start this blog, start everything. I could do it on my other machines, but it would be very slow and be very tedious, and I don't think I would get as much done. Really, for me, I feel like ever since I've got this, my productivity has just gone straight up, just because I've made a point not to install any games on it, so I don't waste any time on games. Games, in my opinion, I don't think they're a waste of time. They are a good way to have high density, high quality fun. But for myself, I get too addicted to video games. I cannot moderate with that. So for myself, I like to just go cold turkey, completely cold turkey. So yeah, that's my general opinion on this computer. I think for myself, a general review of the computer, I really do like the computer. I've had no issues with it so far. There was one moment where there was a little flicker on the screen, and like a little bar came across. It didn't say anything, and then it was gone a second later. That is the only issue I've had. Apart from that, I've had zero issues. I only hear the fan go, like it only really gets hot if I'm exporting a video for over 5 minutes. And then it's not really boiling, it's just it heats up a little bit. Right now it feels incredibly cold, and it's recording a podcast. Photoshop's open. I have tons of apps open. I don't really have to worry about things with this computer. The only thing, like even with battery life, the amount of battery life that this thing has is, I go to university and I take notes on my lectures, and then I can edit videos at university with no charger, and it doesn't really affect me at all, because by the time I get home, I'm still on like 50%. This thing has so much battery. Like my days at uni aren't that long. It's maybe 8 o'clock to 2 or 8 o'clock to 4, something like that. And yeah, I still get a ton of use out of it. I'm not on it the whole time when I'm at uni, but I easily get through it. I'm obviously mindful of the battery, but I don't have to really think about it. So yeah. I personally think that you should buy this laptop if you're looking into it. It is, okay, it's a bit of an overstatement to say it's changed my life, but in a way it has. It's allowed me to do all these things, become a creator. If you want to be a creator, then I think this is an amazing laptop for you. The Mac OS is amazing for it. I don't think Windows is as good at creating, as good for creators, because I just think Mac OS works so well for it. And the idea with Mac is, I'm a big fan of Apple in general, but the idea with Apple is they control the software and they control the hardware, so it all just works together, and they control the majority of the applications that you use on this, and it doesn't feel restrictive either. There's not a lot of applications where I feel restricted. If you're looking to play video games, then this is not the laptop for you, but maybe it is. If you want to play Counter-Strike, then I believe it runs well enough for me. I don't know how well it'll run for you, and I don't know how long it'll scale for. Like, it might not work in the next 2 years. In 2 years' time, maybe Counter-Strike will be way too advanced for it to even run on this thing, just because that's not what it's designed for. It's designed to be strong enough to do things like record podcasts, edit videos, etc. It's a creator's laptop, in my opinion. I personally love the keyboard. I don't know if everyone will love the keyboard, but yeah. The only issue I'd say is, one, the price, and possibly I'm scared to break it, because it doesn't feel flimsy. Like, it feels very well made. It's just the screen feels like something that could snap very easily, because it is very thin, but it is absolutely beautiful, and yeah, extremely bright. The keypad, I really like it. Apparently some people don't, though. Go into an Apple store and try it out. I went in like 6 times. Every time I was in the city, I would just go up to Noel Leeming and I'd just walk in and go try out the new MacBook just to give it a go. And I was tossing up between the MacBook Air and the MacBook 12-inch and the MacBook 15-inch even, but I don't think I would buy the 15-inch if this became my full-time gig. Then I would definitely probably invest in something like a really powerful 15-inch, but I wouldn't do it now. I'd wait for this thing like 2 years' time, then I'd probably do it, because this thing is just so portable. I take it to university every day in my Kathmandu bag. That thing is a fucking beast. Love it. It's a bit big and it looks a bit ugly, but I love it personally. So yeah, I think I'll probably cap it off here. I would love if you guys would subscribe to the podcast. If you enjoyed this, I will be doing a few more of these in the future. I'm going to see how people react. Personally, I enjoy talking about stuff like this. My main hobbies are things like fitness. Like, I do actually quite like tech. I'm not a major tech head, but I do like tech like this, and I do like tools. Things like that really make me happy, They really interest me. Things that make life easier and they make it more efficient, such as my Bluetooth headphones, or this MacBook, or Magic Keypad, Magic Trackpad. I might do a review on those. So yeah, my overall opinion is, yes, it's an investment, because I don't think it's me really it's not an impulse buy. I spent a lot of time thinking about buying this, and I think you should too. If you're looking to spend this much money on a laptop, don't just buy it the next day. I bought it quite soon, actually. I spent maybe 2 weeks doing some pretty solid research. I probably watched like 20 hours of YouTube videos about it, did some research on the specs, and did some research about general computers, and I just found that it's the right computer for me, really. A lot of people people overstate how weak they make it sound. They make it sound like it's such a weak computer, but I think that what they mean is really weak for the price tag. If you're comparing it to something like an iMac, or comparing it to something like custom built desktop, that is the most powerful money you're going to get if you're custom building your computer. That is where you're really going to shine. But with something like this, it's meant to just do medial tasks, things like record podcasts, edit videos. I don't edit videos in that high quality, but I edit in them in decent quality, whatever. And yeah, I don't really have too many issues. So yeah, I have not ever edited in anything like 4K, though. I don't think that's something I could ever do, but yeah. Thank you guys for listening. I would love if you would leave a review on the podcast. I would also love if you would subscribe and check out my social media. On Instagram, I am Wonky Walshami, the same on Facebook, and on Twitter, I am Walshami with 2 M's and 2 Y's. Thank you guys very much, and have a good day. I just forgot one thing. I'd just like to say that when it comes to dongles, hashtag dongle life, I don't actually find there's that many issues with the dongles, because for myself, there is only 2 ports. There is only 2 USB-C ports, and it's very easy to adapt to if you're smart. I have one USB to USB-C adapter, and that works very well. It connects to my Blue Yeti microphone. It connects to my, just memory stick, etc. It doesn't really, it's not a major issue for me. So yeah.